Welcome to the program. This program is all about payment, getting paid what you're worth. Getting paid what you're worth. As an introduction, ask yourself this: how good are you at negotiating? If someone asked you that, what would you say about yourself? And perhaps to help, pick out something that you offer that you're familiar with and ask yourself a very simple question. If I cut my pricing by 10%, how much more volume do I require to make up the discount? Quite a simple question. Now, if you don't have an exact answer, you've got no business negotiating on price. And I'm going to tell you why. It's because you don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're doing. Let's have a little look at what benefits you're going to get from this program. And the first thing it will do is to support you that when you make decisions on your pricing structure, they're going to be good ones. Second point, it's going to develop your ability to actually make your pricing proposals more robust in the marketplace. We've designed this for people that are specifically looking to improve the profitability of what they do. First concept is win-win. What does that mean in a negotiation? Just what does it mean? And then we've got the opposite of that, which we refer to as adversarial negotiations. What does that mean? Does fairness have any impact in the context of negotiating your price? And just what is the importance of competitive advantage when you're negotiating? And then we've got the concept of framing your position. What does all this mean to you? Then we're going to cover some commercial realities. And one is, just how often will you meet someone that's a skilled negotiator? It's a consideration. Then we'll explore just what do professionals look at when they invest in something. What do they look at? And then we've got three key realities. And the first one is, how does loss aversion help the person making the sale? Then we're going to go through the three levers that support the seller's arguments. And finally, how does the area of possible agreement support the seller achieve their price? We've also got some more realities, and these are very important. So the first is, just who are you price checking with? Then we've got, is price truly the only question in a negotiation? And then what else can we talk about other than the price? Then, just how do you react to your competitor when they reduce their price? Our program is going to give you a pro understanding of margin. We're going to look at the margin and volume, and then understand the impact of offering a discount. We're going to look at something that you're going to hardly believe, which is this: you cannot make it up on volume. We're going to look at the operational impact on increasing your volume, so we can also then answer, well, what happens if you raise your prices? Our program will support you to consider your own negotiation vocabulary. What supports your arguments and what detracts from them. It's very important. And then, what the program will also do is point out that actually no is usually progress. When someone actually declines your proposal, it's actually part of progress. Our program includes the 360-degree pro-negotiation model, and we're going to explain this to you to bring your negotiation skills up to the standards of procurement specialists. And finally, if your offer you have to include discount considerations, we're going to coach you a proven discounting model that truly gets results and profits. And we're going to deliver this to you in bite-sized chunks of 30-minute sessions online to take you up to a standard which we call our masterclass standard. Let's just check out what is the 360-degree model. It's actually made up of 6 stages. 6 stages. And the first one is, what are the strategic considerations in this transaction? What are they? Before you go any further, there are 4 key questions that you have to answer before you progress. Number 3, what issues are there around this negotiation? And number 4, what is your position and how can you prepare for it? Then we move into the tactical side of things. What tactics can you bring to the table to forward your position? And finally, where can you trade? Where can you concede? Where can you trade? This 6-stage model looks like this. We will equip you with 21 points of preparation. And what this does, it ensures that you are truly equipped to negotiate, and this will give you confidence. On top of that, there's in excess of 200 negotiation concepts and techniques that you will bring to the table next time that someone questions your price and value. Let's take a long hard look at the 360-degree pro negotiation model. You can see it's made up of 3 color schemes, red, amber, green. Technically, you shouldn't move from the red until you've covered all of those considerations. That takes you to amber. When you're in the amber zone, you're taking a look at all the different questions and preparations that you need to make before you start to close on what is possible for you. If we compare this pro negotiation model to what I would describe as the average sets of skills on negotiation, and they look something like this. It's quite often that people have got highly competent closing techniques on closing on how the deal should look. Most people will have some form of concessions and trades that they can build into a deal, and most people will have areas where they can bring relief to the deal. Within that, there's a framework of initiatives that you can bring to the table. It's a very limited menu of processes, procedures, skills and strategies to actually make sure that the best deal that was available is the best deal that's struck. And what we find is the basic model generates an adversarial approach because the actual tools in the toolkit are so limited. And in this model, if you deadlock early, where else can you go? Because there's only limits to what's possible for you. The basic model offers no additional opportunities to explore different facets of the deal. You're going into the meeting with less options, and we believe the negotiator with the most flexible position has the most options, and the negotiator with the most options gets the best results. Even with these skills that we're going to equip you with, you need to understand a concept we refer to as the area of possible agreement, because there are limits, and the limits are this. The first limit is, what is possible? What is possible? We cannot negotiate outside of what is possible. And the second thing we need to consider is, where exactly do we need to perform in the context of the transaction? Because the area of possible agreement is what we would refer to as the maximum and minimum potential of the transaction, and that's from both points of view. if that area doesn't overlap, that means the buyer's point of view and the seller's point of view doesn't overlap, then negotiation ability will not compensate. It will not compensate for that. So, what are we talking about? In a transaction, and they are mostly adversarial, there'll be two targets. The seller's got a target, a revenue target, and the buyer's got a target, which is an expenditure target. And this is where the adversarial approach comes into play. And the buyer will have a maximum price, a maximum budget, and the seller will have a minimum price or a minimum profit point. And what that then creates are areas of possible agreement where the parties could possibly agree. Now, in this model, you can see that there is actually an area of possible agreement. Because unless there's an area of possible agreement, negotiation skills will not perform. And in this model, there you can see it. That's the potential, the financial potential for the transaction. And what we have here is the negotiation has performed that it looks like it's gonna perform slightly to the buyer's advantage. You can see there was the potential to take the price right the way up, but we've agreed here, and that's how the area of possible agreement performs. If there's not an area of possible agreement, negotiation skill will not compensate for that. So, recognizing that mostly negotiation is some form of adversarial activity, let me tell you why this program is so important to you. I'll share an opinion in the opinions from the Center for Economics and Business Research. Now, this independent center quantified via a sample of surveys taken across the United Kingdom, and what they did, they grossed up the information. And they put forward the idea that the United Kingdom loses in the region of £9 million per hour through poor negotiating. And if this was scaled up, the United Kingdom's turnover could be increased by £17 billion per annum. I'm sure you agree with me that that is a very significant figure. And it plays into the argument that the average British company could increase its profitability by 7%. Now, if you think of all the things that you could do to improve your profitability, all the different things that you could do, being better at negotiation is the most direct method to get that win. And there's a reality here that probably those figures are even worse. It's possible. So, let's have a look, based on that, why this is so important. And we're going to explore something called the mechanics of margin. And at the start of this, I said if you cut your prices or fees by 10%, exactly what does that mean regarding your volume? And we're going to take a look at this via a spreadsheet, which you will get as part of this program. What we're looking at here is the following. You will see that we've highlighted 0%. So in this particular model, we're not offering a discount. And this model is that of a sole trader who is looking to pay themselves £30,000, which is row 7. They're looking to pay themselves £30,000. To do that, they're going to work 200 days. Over those 200 days, they need to generate £45,000 over the 200 days. And that gives this sole trader a margin of £15,000, which you can see. Within that £15,000, they've got fixed operational costs to fund, and those costs work out at £1,000 per month, which is £12,000 a year. On top of that, they've got variable costs attached to delivering the 200 days work, which are 3,000. And if we look at some percentages here, the first percentage that we look at is the margin percentage, which is on row 8, which is 33.33%. For the record, the average margin is often talked at as around about 35%. So we're playing in that field. So let's just suppose that our sole trader here is asked to offer a 5% discount. So we put in 5% and we reboot the spreadsheet, and let's have a look at what's happening. Well, to start with, we've got a consideration. And the consideration is basically to generate the same amount of revenue, we have to produce an extra 46 days worth of work. Let's just have a look at some of these figures. 46 days of work to break even. Now the reason for that is this. Our variable costs actually go up because we're producing more days work. Our fixed costs remain the same, and if we look at the margin that we're making, it's actually gone down from 33.33% to 29.82%, which in real terms, that 5% discount has meant nearly an 11% change in margin. Nearly 11%. Just have a look at those figures to understand what's happened here. The 5% discount has meant a 10% drop in gross margin. If we stay at that pricing throughout the year, we're having to work an extra 46 days to generate the same economic features. So essentially, that 5% drop has had an incredible figure. Let's go back and see what 10% means. Which was the argument? Do you know what 10% will do? Now let's have a look at that and make sure you're sitting down. Because what's happened now, a 10% discount on a 33.33% margin takes the margin down to 25%, which is nearly a 25% drop. It's just over 22%. It's immense. Someone's actually saying to you, would you mind dropping your gross margin by 22%? Who would have that conversation? I think where it makes the most difference is here. What's happening is you're going to have to do an extra 120 days at that rate for your business model still to function. An extra 120 days to make your business model function. We're going to equip you with this spreadsheet, and what I suggest is you input the details that are appropriate for your model and become very, very familiar with exactly what these discounts mean. Because once you understand what these discounts mean to your business model, then the techniques and the strategies we're going to share with you will make a lot more sense, and in fact will become a business discipline, a business habit, rather than information that you're aware of that's an occupational hazard.